All right. So there is no reason for this live other than I need to make a project with these. So that's what we're going to do. So I have a piece of Sweet Sentiment coloring paper. This is the teal label paper. I prefer the teal label paper. I think I'm just going to leave this in half sheet size. And y'all know we just had new release, so that's why I'm using this. As you pop on, say hello so I can see who you are. I'm having breakfast today. This is my breakfast usually. I have chocolate milk and coffee, so they pair well together. So you'll hear me sipping on both. This is our brand new stamp set. This is called the Proud Poppy. The most difficult battles in life are those we fight within. And that's a Chinese proverb. I thought it was super duper cool. I have exactly 0 plans for this card. So I don't even know if we're going to actually make a card. I think we might just, you know, make the poppy. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm going to pull down my Misty. This is my big Misty. It's actually standard size, but, you know, what else? Put my piece of paper in here. Now, when making this poppy, you're going to want this petal several times and this petal several times. And then you'll want the center once, maybe twice, depends on how 3D you want to make it. And then the leaves. I like to try to get them all like as close as possible, because that's how I roll. Okay, so I'm going to move this down so that my paper doesn't move. Put that on there. And I'm going to grab my desert sand. I want to color this with desert sand, so it looks like it's no lines. These Tsukaniko inks, Desert Sand and Tuxedo Black in their Memento line are amazing. They're my favorite inks, so I use them a ton. Are you guys talking at all, or nobody's talking? All right, cool. I just want to make sure I'm not missing comments. If you're saying something to me, I don't want to miss the comment. All right. So this is our espresso pressure tool. Photopolymer and rubber are soft, so wherever you press the hardest, you would have larger lines, and wherever, like on the peripherals, you would have thinner lines. So our pressure tool helps to combat against that and gives you nice even stamp lines no matter what. It also will help you from breaking your Misty, because your Misty is made out of plastic, and so plastic obviously will break. I'm going to turn this around. I don't need the leaves anymore, so I'm just going to stick them over here. And I don't need the center anymore, so I'm going to stick it there. But I still want these. So back to my, I know it's early morning for some of y'all, but I like early morning. I like coffee and coloring. I don't know if Sandy's going to be live tonight. I think she's out celebrating her anniversary. So, not real sure if she's going to be home tonight or not. But I'm here, so hey, hey. So this I've stamped 4, but I'm going to stamp 1 more because I want to have an odd number of petals. So I'm going to stick this one back on. And I'm going to ink up this one. Now, these Chinese poppies are traditionally like a bright orangish red or a super dark red. So you can make them whatever color you want because this is your world, this is your card. So you can do whatever color it is. I've just sprayed water on this chamois. So nothing major here. And I like to put them back on my carrier sheet right away. I also like to put my ink pad away right away. Otherwise I end up putting my arm in it or, you know, something along those lines. Just make sure all the ink is off of those. And I'm going to put them back on the carrier sheet. This one's hard to line up because it has so many little, there we go. This leaf goes this way, and this one goes this way. Now this is a stem for the flower, but the card I'm making, I don't necessarily need a stem for it, so I'm not going to worry about that. Take this off of here, and we're going to do some coloring. You guys ready? I'm ready. Okay, so I think I'm going to go fairly traditional with this, but I'm going to do it a little more like on the, well, yeah, I think I'm going to do it a little bit more on the like pink side. Or maybe I'll go really Halloween with it and go really dark. I'll be 69, 39, 29. Okay. So I have my colors. Where is my, there it is, my Copic marker stand. Okay, so for those of you wanting to see, here's the colors that I'm going to use. And then my leaves, I'm going to use a really dark color as well. One of my favorite blends for like an olive green kind of color. And I think that's where we're going to go. I'll pick the colors for the center of this later. All right, so I'm going to start with the BB29. And I'm going to come in from the center of the poppy. Now, I'm just going to go kind of into this center piece because I want it to stay dark. And I'm going to follow the artist drawn lines. I'm gripping my pen right where the gray attaches to the barrel. And I'm rotating my paper along as I go. I am trying to create some lines that are kind of random, but all the while my brain kind of wants to stay inside the lines and wants to create a pattern. So the shorter my brush strokes are, or the faster that I'm moving, the better off I am at not creating a pattern. So let me see if I can zoom in a little bit for you guys. Hi, Joni. Is that better? Because I want all of these petals to look differently. Now, one of the most important things when you're coloring is to go with the direction of whatever it is you're coloring. So with the direction of the petal in this case, and that's why I continuously rotate my paper so that I can go with the direction of the petal. Sandy did such an amazing job with this relief. I am so, so, so proud of her. And then I'm going to do these ones on this side. Same thing, going along with the direction. So my morning started out not the greatest. I poured myself a cup of hot coffee and then promptly dumped it down the front of me. So I have this really cool burn down my torso, which is amazing. Not how I wanted to start my day, but hey, we'll just keep on rolling, right? It's the Monday-est Tuesday ever. Okay, so I have those completed. Now I'm going to go to my next marker, which is my RV99. I'm going to do essentially the same thing. I'm just elongating these shadows. And I'm starting to look to where the petal has wrinkles on it so that I can create those wrinkles with my markers so I can shade them in. So like this piece has a fairly large wrinkle across it. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a little shading there. If you like our videos, if you could please hit the thumbs up, it would be awesome. It definitely helps us. Also, there's a subscribe button if you would like to subscribe to us. Again, that helps us in the whole Facebook and YouTube algorithm scenario. Y'all know how that goes. So we would definitely appreciate that. If you really like our videos, we have made them public, so you have the capability of sharing them. So feel free to share with a friend or a colleague or to enable somebody. We're happy enablers, us crafters, right? We like to enable. Notice how these subsequent colors go much faster because my brain isn't worried about staying inside the line as much. So I can continually color without that worry. And so it's easier to make faster brush strokes. And yes, this is a brush stroke. You are using a brush nib, so that creates a brush stroke. A lot of colorists refer to this as flicking because they're referring to a flick of the wrist. Notice my wrist isn't moving a lot, so it's more from my fingers. And if you had a paintbrush in your hand and you were flicking it, you would have paint everywhere. So know that this is a like a paintbrush, and it will definitely help you color better. Okay. Also notice that this is seriously a method. I'm doing the same thing pretty much over and over and over again. And I always liken it to like Rachel Ray, because remember her like 30-minute meal stuff? I had all of the cookbooks and everything. And I realized that she had a method. She would learn to make one recipe and then she would change it depending on, so just say that it was like a cheeseburger. She learned to make a cheeseburger, but then if she wanted to make a California cheeseburger, she would put guacamole on it. It was the same cheeseburger recipe over and over and over, but she just added something to it to make it a little bit different. That's kind of what it's like with coloring. You can just add a little bit of finesse to these to make them different. So whether you're trying to color texture or trying to color it smooth, the more familiar you are with your markers, the more finesse you can add to make it slightly different. It's the same thing over and over and over, but you're just adding a little bit of finesse. That's kind of a good way to look at it. Makes it a little bit less intimidating. I'm going to take a sip of my coffee. Try to not pour it down the front of me again. Now you'll notice I'm kind of tracing some of these artist drawn lines because I really want to add texture to these petals. So I'm going to take my cues from the artist. In this case, they're sandy drawn lines. And I'm going to take my cues from the artist to create the creases in these petals. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was almost off the screen there. Again, notice how I'm rotating my paper so that my wrist stays in a comfortable position and so that I can make these brush strokes go in the direction that the petal is growing. Rotate this around and do these ones. So you'll see this flower does color up fairly quickly, even though you're doing a lot of petals. it does color up pretty quickly, even though I'm doing no lines. I don't think that no lines generally takes any longer than any other coloring, other than if you're not real used to it, it takes your brain a second to figure out, you know, where lines are and what you're doing and where you're shading and all of that kind of stuff. But really no lines coloring is not all that different than coloring with black lines. I like coloring flowers, especially with no lines, and people, because it gives a kind of painterly aspect to it. Feels a little bit more organic to me. So I really, really enjoy that. I don't know if I'm not seeing comments or nobody's commenting. So if you do see this, if you could comment, that would be awesome. Sometimes Facebook doesn't like us to see comments for some reason. They're mean like that. Again, I'm just following these artist drawn lines up to give the flower dimension, and you'll see even more when I shape the flower. All right, this is looking really pretty. I really, really like these colors, so very happy with this. It's a little bit pinkish purplish right now, so we're going to bring it a little bit more into the realm of the red. This is my R39. Hopefully you can see that in the corner. I'm being a little bit more measured on my brush strokes here because I want to leave highlights, and I'm going to need to do that for my subsequent color, my next color that's coming along. You'll also notice I'm going to color this from both directions. You'll see in just a second. So I'm going to come from this direction, color down. Like this, so that my next color is my lightest color. And so I just want it in the highlight, which is pretty much the very edges of these petals. So it's taking me slightly longer to do these brush strokes because I'm trying to stay in or on those specific stamped lines. And I'm sorry if my hand is covering what I'm doing, because I have to hold the marker pretty much vertically in order to get the smaller brush strokes that I'm looking for. And that's kind of difficult to do on camera. So just going along the top of these petals. Making brush strokes down towards the center of the flower. Again, always going with the direction that the flower is growing. I do that first layer, and then I come in with some extra brush strokes. I'm leaving the edge of this like that because that's what these flowers look like in nature. They don't have a super smooth edge like a rose or something along those lines. Okay, and then I'm going to turn it this way, and I'm going to come back towards those brush strokes, leaving room for my highlight. Perfect. So pretty. Okay, we're going to go on to the third one. The further back on your marker you hold, the less control you have. So that's why I'm choked up pretty far onto the barrel of the marker. My fingers even into the gray part where the nib comes out. But I'm never touching the nib. You don't want to touch your nib because there's oils in your fingers and it can clog up your nib over time. So I try to be sure that I am never ever touching the nib of my marker. Okay, rotating this around. And again, you see I can move much faster and I can hold further back on my nib. Just like that. Super pretty. Time for more coffee. Okay. Petal number 4. And again, you guys, you see with coloring, it's all a method. So once you get the hang of it, it's very much practice makes perfect. And I spend lots of time practicing and practicing and practicing to learn how these markers interact with one another, how they act on their own, you know, how to blend different colors, how... Hi, Jamie, how are you? You know, how different color families blend together, all kinds of stuff. So it is definitely a practice makes perfect scenario. And I always tell people who are new colorists that one of the best things you can do for yourself when you're a new colorist is color botanicals. Any flowers or anything floral or nature or anything like that is one of the best things you can color. Because there's always flaws. I mean, you're pretty hard pressed to go out into nature and find an absolutely perfect rose or poppy or whatever. They always have a bug bite or a sunburn or a petal that's grown kind of funky or bent over on itself or whatever. So you know from the get-go that you don't have to color it absolutely perfect because Mother Nature takes care of that for us. So it's definitely helpful. Takes the pressure off. I started by coloring people, and that was probably the wrong way to start. If I'm being honest. But coloring shouldn't be stressful. It should be relaxing. You shouldn't have to worry about being absolutely perfect. It should just be something that you enjoy. So if you're getting really uptight about your coloring and you're not enjoying it, please take a step back and kind of reevaluate. Look at how pretty those are. At work and watching, you naughty, naughty little girl. All right, so now we have our last color. This is our R29. And I'm just essentially going to fill in pretty much all the white spots. I'm not going to be maniacal about filling in white spots because there could be highlights from the sun, but I'm going to try to mostly fill them in. And I'm going to do that from both directions. Super pretty. Look at those vibrant petals. They're so cool. I love this new Sweet Sentiment coloring paper. It's beautiful. It's 100% post-consumer recycled, which is super duper neat. It handles the color really well. It stands up to flower making really well. There we go, guys. What do you think? Super fun. Okay, I'm going to color these green leaves real fast. So I like to start by going down the vein of the leaf. And just kind of tracing those out. With the artist drawn line. Again, I tend to do better doing brush strokes towards me, especially today. So I'm definitely going to head in that direction. I'm going to do both of these at the same time. Okay, and this one I realized I forgot to color the bottom of the stem, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. All right, that's pretty much all I'm going to do with this darkest green. I'm going to go to my YG 97 and I'm going to add in a little bit of shadowing. Not a lot, but I'm going to come down the bottom parts. I'm just going to pick a side. Just hopefully to add some dimension. Like that. And this one I'm going to do the same thing. I'm probably way off the screen over there. Just using some light brush strokes to add a little bit of dimension to those leaves. Nothing major, just enough to give the hint that there's some shadow. Now I have my YG 95. And with this marker, I'm going to come in and essentially go around all those darker greens that I did before. I'm going to use the artist drawn lines to sort of trace the leaf, my stamped lines. The reason I'm doing that with this is because the leaf at the edges tends to turn under this type of leaf. And so I'm kind of playing on that to make it seem like the edges of the leaves are curled under. You guys can probably hear my 3D printer in the back. going crazy. Printing lots of new glue holders for y'all. We have one more show this season. It's in Lakeland, Florida. And then we are done. Hey, Carrie. Good morning. I'm just coloring the new poppy just for the heck of it. Okay. Now I'm going to add this green. And I'm going to go over the top of some of that more olivey color because I want to tone it down a bit and make it not quite as yellow. I'm glad you're checking in. How are you doing, girl? You knocked this release out of the park, chickadee. So proud that you're on our team. Carrie has been a long time Sweet Sentiment. Well, we met before Sweet Sentiment. And so she has been a supporter and helper since day one. And I appreciate it. Ah, you were posting a card. Busted. I caught you posting a card. So this is my YG91, and I'm just going to come up and add in the largest voids a couple of brush strokes of this to kind of add a highlight. So I'm using this sort of like I would use a colorless blender. To wash out some of the darker color. Beautiful. Okay, so now I have this piece. And with this piece, this is the center, and it's generally very, 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 very dark. So I'm actually going to start with my 110. 110 is the warm black. And I'm going to start by creating this kind of anemone looking scenario here. You alright, Arch? My little puppy's sitting on the floor shivering. I'm not real sure why. Because dogs do the weirdest things, right, Carrie? They're totally fine 1 second, and then the next second they're sitting on the floor shivering. Who knows? I'm also going to go a little bit on the outside here and just make some brush strokes. I'm not, for the love of me and all things holy, I'm not going to try to trace every one of these little stamen. It's just not going to happen. Okay, so I started with my 110. And then I'm going to go E49 because they tend to be kind of brown. Oh, thanks, Carrie. And the E49 is a very dark brown. And then again, I'm going to brush out in this direction. Now this is where my colors are going to change. I'm going to stay dark in the middle, but I'm going to go lighter around the outside. So, the darker middle is, I'm going to use a W8 to fill this in. And then around the outside, I'm actually going to use Y28. And I'm going to connect all of these, and then I'm going to use a middle color to kind of marry those two together. But I want these to kind of come out to a yellowish color. And this is like a golden sort of color. And you can see there's a very big separation between these, that W and that Y. And that's okay, because I'm going to come in and blend them together by adding a layer in between the two. Went to the eye doctor yesterday, and apparently my vision is degrading very quickly because I just got new glasses last year, and I already need to update my prescription this year. So super fun times. I don't know, that could be normal. I have no idea. I just thought, wow. I thought that like when I got glasses, I would just like have glasses. I did not know that it was such a thing. Okay, so notice how those two do not go together. Hey, Kelly. You have to go back to work. I'm sorry. Boo. I think I'm going to use E55 to come in between. It's a pretty color. And then I'm going to take this W8 and this E55, and I'm going to do what's called tip-to-tip blending to create kind of a middle color, a middle ground. I'm glad you popped in to say hi. Kelly will be down in Florida again here for my birthday in a couple of weeks. Well, next week. It's creeping up on me, let me tell you. We will be in Lakeland for the CKC show. I am teaching a coloring class. It's called Beautiful Botanicals. It'll be the last one of the year. There we go. I love it. Okay, so now that we have these finished, I'm going to set my markers aside. And I'm going to go to my dies. So a lot of people ask how to cut the dies apart. So I'm going to show you really quickly how I cut my dies apart. I have, if I can find them, my die snips. I believe I got these from Concord and Ninth, but you can get them almost anywhere. Or you can use wire cutters. I mean, that's also a thing. And see all of these little tiny thin wires? That's what you cut. So there's one, that's for the sentiment, and I could lay these on here so you could see. And then you'll want to cut off these little barbs. I usually cut them while I'm over the trash can, but I can't really do that while I'm on screen. And for those of you wondering, the geometrics don't mean anything. They're just shapes that pop into my brain. And I create them in Procreate. And I just make these cool little shapes to add interest to your cards. No rhyme or reason. This one was kind of inspired by the Chinese parasol that the little dancers use. or they walk around with to shade themselves from the sun. I don't think they're just Chinese. I think pretty much all Asian cultures use the little paper parasols, but whatever. So these are very easy to cut apart, as you can tell. They don't take very long. And there you go. Cuts out every piece. Just like that. So let me zoom back out so that we can, wrong way, make the flower. Okay, so I'm going to grab my cutter bees and I'm just going to kind of cut these out a little bit so they fit in my die cutting machine. I happen to have my Big Shot sitting right here, so I'm just going to use my Big Shot. So what I like to do is use my magnetic side to tape these down, and I use frog tape. All of our dies cut 1/8 of an inch border. So you can line them up. And then I flip them over because my cutting plate is right here. And I grab my die cutter. And I just run them through. Just like that. Archie, no. Usually I take a little bit more time to line them up, but we're on a live and you don't want to see me be that maniacal about all of it, right? Oops, that piece isn't going to work now. So do be careful when you're peeling the tape off of something you've already colored. Because you can rip the paper with your tape if you're not careful. Generally speaking, you won't, but sometimes you will. It's a thing. So I don't want to say I didn't warn you. So we're going to cut these two. How I get my workout, lifting that heavy machine back and forth. There's that one. I generally reuse my tape. That's why you see me sticking it onto the side of my board. All right, and last cut. So I can set that off to the side. Go. Okay, this one. I almost just threw my die away. Really don't want to do that. Okay, so now I have all my little poppy pieces, and this is where the fun happens. So a lot of people ask me about flower shaping tools and all of that kind of stuff, and I like to tell them that I don't really use a lot of tools. What I do use is what I happen to have around me. So for the most part, I use a glue stick, which I don't even know where the rest of them went right now. Let me find one. I usually put them, yep, right here. Okay, so I use a glue stick from my hot glue gun, like that. I use my mouse pad, and I usually use like a Sharpie. This happens to be a Sharpie highlighter. It's gonna work. Okay, so what I'm gonna do first of all is I'm going to take the center of this flower, and I'm gonna throw my pen, and that Sharpie has a sharp edge, so I'm gonna use this one. And I'm gonna take my water bottle, and I'm just gonna one light little spritz just to dampen those paper fibers. And I'm just gonna push this into the mouse pad or into the palm of my hand. Just let it go organically. So there we go. Now with these, I don't even really need to spritz them. I'm just going to go down the center of the leaf and pop it out. And then I'm going to fold it. Same thing with this. I'm going to go down the center. Probably down this one. And then I'm just going to kind of fold it. Okay? So far so good, right? Nothing too crazy. Now is where we're going to get all crazy. You guys ready? Hi, Julie. So I'm going to use my water bottle. I'm going to spritz the back. And then I'm going to wrinkle it up. Because these flowers are very, very wrinkly. And I'm kind of wrinkling them the way, like long ways vertically, this way, because that's the way the leaves grow, or the petals grow. Okay, so now that I have all of those done, I'm gonna take my little cloth here and wipe up any excess water. Okay. Now I'm gonna come back to these and I'm gonna open them up and I'm gonna kind of accordion fold them. Check out how pretty those are. I'm gonna grab my Crazy Creations glitter and one of these sponges, just so I have it handy. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start by putting the flower together. So I'm gonna pick just any petal to make my bottom petal, and I'm gonna use hot glue. You can use Barely Art glue, you can use pretty much anything, but I'm using hot glue just so that it's a little bit faster. And I'm just going to overlap those leaves or petals or whatever you want to call them. I'm going to put this one over here kind of opposite. If I was using Barely Art glue, these would just take a little bit longer to dry. So, you know, the video would be a little bit longer, but that's the only reason I'm using hot glue right now. So just arrange these so that they are overlapping like that. I'm going to push into the middle and I'm going to form them in my hand. This is where I like to use my glue stick so that I have this pretty kind of cup shape for those. Then with this, I want to put this in the center. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a big dollop of hot glue, or you could use a sweet pop, and I'm going to put that right there and I'm going to let it dry. So the reason I'm going to do that is that I'm creating dimension with it. So I want that to dry so that it creates a big bubble in the middle. Thanks, Jamie. Hopefully my video is still live. It cut off. There we go. All right. So as that dries, I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with this. So this is my Crazy Creations glitter. This happens to be the one with the snowflake. So it has kind of a blue shimmer to it. I have other ones that are, that have the sunshine on them. So they have like a yellow shimmer to them. I cut a little piece of the pie. And then I grab my Barely Art glue, which I just rearranged my craft room, so forgive me while I try to locate it. Oh, Mr. Glue Bottle, where did you go? I honestly have no idea where my Barely Art glue is. That is the weirdest thing. Y'all know how I am with my glue, right? Weird. Okay, so, oh, here it is. He's right here. Ah. I put my markers in front of him so I couldn't find him. So these are our new little gummy bear glue toppers. That glue is still not dry. It's getting there. So what I'm gonna do is, I don't actually need to like fine tip the glue, so you can, but I'm just gonna open this up, and that's how I'm gonna use it, is open this up just like this. And I'm gonna put glue on here, and I'm gonna dunk my flour in here. So since I'm waiting for that to get warm, or I mean get cool, it's already warm, I don't want it any warmer. I'm gonna go like this, and I'm gonna do the leaves first. Cause I mean, what's a flower if it's not super sparkly, right? So I just put it in here and I shake it around. And you guys know I don't like to get icky, so I generally grab my tweezers. And look at how frosted and pretty that is. Do the same thing to this one. Hi, Bee, how are ya? I'm gonna put it in there and shake it around. Again, nice and pretty frosted. And I need a little bit more glue to do the center. Good, good. Glad to hear it. And I'm just going around the outside of this, dropping it in there, covering it with glitter. Okay? And I sometimes will break some of the glitter off because I just want it around the outside. Totally up to you how you want the glitter, okay? So now that this is mostly cooled, I'm just gonna put a little bit of dollop of glue right on top of it. You can't put too much or it'll just heat all the rest of it back up. And I'm gonna glue that there. Okay, then I'm gonna put probably a little bit more than that. There we go. Lots more glue on here. And I'm gonna kiss the edges of all these petals. And I like to go down each petal. And this is kind of a one-shot thing. If you don't get glue on all the petals, it's real hard to go back and do it again. So and I'll break it up a little bit so it's not so uniform. Look at how cool that looks. Hi, Linda Lou. Oh, it's so pretty, you guys. And then, since y'all know I'm a super duper clean crafter and I can't handle having glitter everywhere, I'll just take this little sponge that has glue on it and I'll wipe up all that glitter. And then I can just throw this in the trash can. And I don't have to worry about glitter everywhere. Okay. So now that we've done that, we're going to just put together a really simple card. Thanks, Linda. So I'm going to get rid of all this tape here because I keep sticking my arm in it. And I'm going to scoot back in my chair. Where are my card bases? Oh my gosh, you guys, you rearrange your craft room and you suddenly can't find anything. Like nothing at all. Okay. So, I have a black piece of paper. And I kind of wanted to make a slim line. Y'all okay with making a slim line? I'm usually not a slim line kind of girl, but that's what we're going to do today. Okay, so I'm going to mark this at 7 inches because slim line is 3.5. Okay, and then I'm going to cut it. So there's that. Well, good, because we need more slimline cards for the displays. So if you are obsessed with slimlines, by all means, make them. We need slimlines and, why does that not look right? Oh, because I marked it at 3 instead of 3.5. Isn't it 3.5? I'm a dum-dum. Okay. But yes, we can always use slim lines for the displays. Use my espresso as a bone folder so it does not scar my paper. Not that I didn't scar my paper myself, but you know, what else? Slim lines and 5.5 by 5.5 square cards. That's what we need. Okay, so there's my base. I'm also going to grab a piece of paper. That is, hopefully I have a piece of our craft paper. Oh, craft paper. I must have it in my paper closet. One moment while I grab it. There we go. Yo, I was trying to be organized. Am I being organized? I'm not organized at all. Thank you, Cheryl. You're so sweet. And I'm just going to mark this where I want to cut it. All right, guys. Now here's what we're gonna do. You ready? Guys and dolls. I'm gonna take this. And I'm gonna take the geometric. And I'm gonna start by using my Rabbit Hole Designs embossing buddy. I don't know what else to call it. Embossing bunny brush. I don't know. I don't know what it's called. It's called something. And it's great. Well, it's called something. Actually, these need to turn. Okay. And I'm going to grab I don't want white. I want clear. Where is my clear? Do I have glittery? I want clear. Clear matte dull. Okay. So this is black and this is clear. I could do black on black, but I don't want to because I want it to fade a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to line this up on the center line. This is where Misties are fabulous because you can really line those up. Maybe, perhaps. Another 2 weeks? Holy crikeys. Okay. I'm gonna get my candy cup out. If I know where I put that. Right here. Okay. Here we go. Y'all ready? So the reason I'm using the VersaFine is because it's a slow drying ink. And I need a slow drying ink because I have to double stamp this. Still going to try to work fairly quickly. Perfect. So cool. I love it. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is take this. Ooh, I almost just dumped that whole thing. Putting my clear embossing powder all the way down. I like to hit the paper a couple of times so that that embossing powder settles. Most of it went back in, so that's fantastic. But the cool thing about this is that I have this cool little pour spout and it pours everything back in. Now, I close the lid to this right away, otherwise we all know bad stuff's going down. I'm going to grab my embossing gun and set this over to the side. And we're gonna emboss this bad boy. There we go. You can see it starting to turn color. Embossing is so magical. Even after all this time, it's still so magical to me. Oh, isn't that beautiful? I love it. So, so pretty. Okay. Cool it down so I don't do anything bad to the ink. And then I'm going to grab my black soot distress ink and a brush. And I'm just going to hit the edges. Notice I'm starting off the edge of the paper and then working my way onto the paper. I'm paying no mind to how even the ink is because I want it to be a little bit random. Beautiful. Okay, I'm going to take my water bottle, spritz my desk to get out any of that ink. Perfect. Now I'm going to grab my card base, whatever I did with it. Oh, it's right here. And I'm going to start by, I know, right? It's still so magical. It does tickle my brain too. I love this glue because it gives you a second to play with it and then it adheres forever. Okay, then I'm going to turn this face down and use my espresso to burnish that glue. Beautiful. Same thing with this layer. It looks like on camera that I'm using a ton of glue. I assure you I am not. It just looks that way on camera. It's such a fine bead of glue that it's really not all that much. Okay. Perfect. Now, I'm going to take my flower, I'm going to pop it directly in the middle. The more glue you add, the longer it's going to take to dry. Just FYI. Okay. Then I have my leaves. I always put glue on the bottom of the leaf and on the top, because I'm not really sure if it's going to adhere itself to the flower or to the card. Now, the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my temple stencil, and I'm just going to add a little bit of shadow with the ink that's left on this brush. There you go. I usually always like to decorate the inside of my card as well, so I will probably do something along the lines of this. Just so it kind of matches. Just for funsies. But there you go, guys. That is your project for the day. So, like I said, Sandy is away celebrating her anniversary, so I'm not 100% sure if she's going to go live tonight or not. But I wanted to come on and show you guys how to use the new poppy. It's so beautiful. There's other ways you can use it. Of course, you can make it into a California poppy if you wish. You can make it into, of course, the Chinese poppy. You can make it any color that you want it to be. There's no limitations here. So I hope you guys are loving this new release as much as we are. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I could be slightly biased, but you know, that's how I roll. I'm going to clean my stamp because you know me, I just can't. I can't at all. So I'm putting water on my little chamois here. Cleaning the ink off of all that. And then hanging my Misty back up because I like to clean up after each project. Oops, sorry, I just kicked the camera. So I'm not sure if y'all like to do that as well, but I certainly do. Oh, neighbor's walking his dog. There goes Archie. Where's Milligan? She wanted to give all the puppies their doggy bones. So anyways, I will stick my stamps and dies back in here. And I'm not sure when I will see you guys again. So for right now, oh, that's why. You do like to keep your work area clean? Yeah, I do too. I don't know why it's such a thing. You have an explosion on your desk. Did a tornado come through? Archie! So I obviously haven't packaged these properly yet, so I will be doing that later today in the rest of my organizing, because I don't like to just throw my dies in here like this, but hey, sometimes that's how it goes when you have lots of other things to get done. So there's the products that we used today. I hope you really, really enjoy them, and I will see you guys next time. Okay? Toodles!